Where's my? You are live. We are live on the air. It is the Loose Lug Nuts. It is season 2. It is episode 14, I think. And
Something
guess
like that.
what? It is Talladega nights, baby. We had racing at Talladega. We had an Earnhardt on the pole. We had Larry Mack up on the box. We had a triple overtime thriller finish. So we had all kinds of stuff going on at Talladega, and we'll get to all that. But first, let's get to my co-hosts, the people who make this show something special. First up, Aaron Simmons, a.k.a. Simoleons, coming to us live from just outside Knoxville, Tennessee. How are you this evening, Aaron?
Doing very well. Been a very productive day. I actually got a computer today, so hopefully, now my laptop won't have to carry all the burden of all these tabs and such, and try not to die. So hopefully it should be in this week. Hopefully I'll get it set up. Hopefully I'll get it set up by next podcast. And oh my gosh, I cannot wait for that thing to come in because this thing has been horribly slow. So I'm ready for a new chapter in my computer life, and I'm ready for it.
All right, moving up in the world, Aaron. Now, my other co-host down below us, literally and figuratively, coming to us from just outside Charlotte, North Carolina, Zachary Brandvold. How are you this evening, Zach?
Doing well, thank you. Yeah, it's been a crazy week and a half. Lots of ups and downs. Work is in full swing, so not a lot of time for myself, unfortunately. But I did a lot of planting over this past weekend, planting different stuff outside of our garden beds, make our house look a little bit better, and did some landscaping along the side, dug up the yard, and I got a really, really nice bright red sunburn because I failed to put on sunscreen in the 6 hours that I was working out in the scalding sun. So yeah, I'm dealing with that right now. But other than that, I'm doing all right. Ready to get this started. Ready to talk about all of our racing news for this week and next. I'm excited to do it along with you guys.
Okay. All right, no truck race this week. They were off, so we've got the Xfinity race up first, and I'm going to give you the quick highlights, and I'm not sure how to go through some of these restrictor plate highlights because you got people that run up front, you got people that kind of fade a little bit, and you really don't know who's going to win it until the end. But we did have an exciting start simply because we had an Earnhardt on the pole in a number 3 car, and we had Larry Mack on the pit box for the Earnhardt on the number 3 car. So that was the big story leading up to the race. Jeffrey Earnhardt, Dale Earnhardt's grandson, qualifies driving a Richard Childress Racing number 3 car, puts it on the pole. And not only does he put it on the pole, but he's got America's crew chief, Larry McReynolds, being his crew chief, sitting on the pit box, first time in over 20 years. It was great just to see that. Even if he crashed the first lap, just to see him get out there and see that moment was awesome. But he didn't. He didn't crash first lap. He actually drove a pretty smart race. He was aggressive when he needed to be, patient when he needed to be. Drove a good race overall. But to take you through some of the highlights unrelated to Earnhardt and Larry Mack, it seemed like a big chunk of the day was all about teammates. RCR, JR Motorsports, Colleague, and Gibbs, everybody was trying to get teammates hooked up and running together. They were able to find each other pretty well on the track, and they were able to run together pretty well. So it seemed like, especially through the first few stages, it was all about your teammates, finding your friends and running with your friends. So stage 2 ends under caution after a spin that collects several cars, including Josh Berry, who was your stage 1 winner. So that's the first hit that the teammates took. Josh Berry, JR Motorsports, is out. So now you've got JR Motorsports down a car. Stage 3, Brandon Jones and Ty Gibbs get collected. Ty Gibbs is out. There's a JGR car out. Looked to me like maybe Ty Gibbs kind of hooked somebody, but I'm not exactly sure. I didn't get to see all the replays of it.
Wouldn't be
But
surprised.
we get set up for 3 overtimes. First overtime, Sam Mayer and Austin Hill wreck. Those two had ran up front all day long. Austin Hill, who I think started the year off with a win at Daytona the last time we were at a plate track, looked strong all day, but he and Sam Mayer got taken out. Again, both those cars had run really well all day. So go to overtime number 2. Sheldon Creed and Cesar Baccarella, I hope I pronounced that right. They wrecked just before AJ Allmendinger was about to take the white flag, which was would have ended the race. They were coming to the white. That wreck occurred in the back. AJ Allmendinger probably would have won it if they had wrecked just a little bit later or thrown the caution a little bit later. And I've got a couple of co-hosts here. Sunny Dog is making a camera appearance, and Lola is up here too. So I've got some co-hosts. Sets us up for overtime number 3, and it gets interesting before they even drop the green flag. Justin Allgaier pulls out a line. He's out of gas. All of these overtimes, despite the caution laps, we have cars running out of gas, or at least one. Big speculation of whether that was going to bring out a caution. I think the pace car actually may have pushed him. I wasn't real clear on what they were saying on the broadcast, and I didn't show it, but I think they said the pace car may have pushed him to keep him out of the way. But anyway, Noah Gragson wounds up winning it. Jeffrey Earnhardt second. Earnhardt made some incredible moves down the backstretch to get up to that second place finish. And after that, they were 3 wide behind him. Everybody was fighting for every position. I think maybe if there was one more lap, Earnhardt may have had something for Noah Gragson, but he comes in second. Got to give a big shout out to Landon Castle, one of our most faithful viewers, Adam Lauer, his favorite driver. Landon Castle, another strong run in the good equipment provided to him by Matt Collick, bringing it home 4th. So that was the big day. Noah Gragson getting it done for JR Motorsports. Jeffrey Earnhardt drove what I thought was just, especially near the end, that last green-white checker, thought he did an incredible job driving. And again, Landon Castle, another good run at a plate track, showing what he can do when he's got good equipment under him. So that is the Xfinity race. So what did you guys take away from the race? What do you guys have to comment on?
My thing is that I think that was the most media attention Jeffrey Earnhardt has ever gotten in his professional racing career.
I mean, no doubt. I would agree with that.
Yeah. I mean, the entire pre-race was just about how Larry Mack was on top of the pit box, and rightfully so. And how Jeffrey Earnhardt, you know, of course, the grandson of Dale Earnhardt, and driver number 3 at Talladega. That was all the pre-race was pretty much about.
Okay.
And so you got to think that media exposure was, you know, really kind of looked good for potential sponsors for Jeffrey Earnhardt, maybe, possibly.
Maybe, but I got to say, he doesn't get that attention, I don't think. Even with Larry Mack on the pit box, he doesn't get that attention if he qualifies 35th. No. I think that to some degree he earned it by putting that thing on the pole.
Yeah.
I think to a certain extent he would still get I mean, I guess not as much, but I still think he would get a lot of media attention just simply because they brought the 3 back. Of course, I think that they would get a lot more anyway, just because they brought the 3 back, but I don't know.
Yeah, well, that's probably true.
He would have got somebody. Correct me if I'm wrong. This is not the first time they've ran the 3. Dale Jr. used to run the 3 Nabisco car quite a bit. Now I know it's been a while, but I don't think this is the first time they have ran the 3 in the Xfinity series.
Yeah. No. And I
agree with you.
I also thought Austin Dillon drove the 3 in the Xfinity series for quite a bit, didn't he?
I think you're right. Yeah.
Out of the other 2, Chad, please correct me if I'm wrong. Which I probably am.
I can't remember.
Okay.
But it's been so long ago, I can't remember.
What I would like to know is how involved was Larry Mack? Did he just show up on Sunday to call the race, or was he involved in the setup of the car and the building of the car and all the things that led up to it, or was it just kind of he's going to show up there for the 2 or 3 hours on Sunday and for the practice stuff? I'd like to know how involved he really was in it. But we'll that may come out later if he makes an appearance on the Dale Jr. download or something. But,
That would be cool.
yeah,
if
it was over. It was kind of a really good feel-good story the way it all played out.
It really
Yeah.
was, and I can only imagine the blow up he would have had if he would have won that race.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I was really rooting for him to win the race, and actually, I got the pleasure of meeting Jeffrey Earnhardt. He was running in the 24 Hours of Daytona. A couple years ago, 5 years ago, something like that. I met him, and nice guy, great guy, honestly, for the fans. And I've always rooted for him. I thought this race was interesting as well. I enjoyed watching it. I think there was a lot of passing, like you said, Tom. It really did rely a lot on teammates, but for the most part, I don't think there was any particular part that was uninteresting in that race. I think there was always action somewhere, but definitely good to see the three and Larry Mack back on the pit box and in the car. I think that was a highlight of the weekend, and a little bit sad that they didn't pull into a victory lane, but still overall really good race.
So that wraps up, I think, the Xfinity race. Aaron, you are going to take us through the Cup race. So walk us through all the action from the Cup race at Talladega.
Can do. We'll be delighted to. All right. So stage one, Christopher Bell on the pole with Truex right next to him. So Gibbs front row to start the race. And these two drivers desperately need to have something good, and this may be a bright spot on Christopher Bell's season so far. But already off the gate, Bell and Truex are doing very well. Eric Jones and Joey Logano just about got collected into a wreck very early on, but luckily didn't happen. But here's another issue: Tyler Reddick again finding ways to lose a race. This time it was early, so I guess it didn't really sting as much. On lap 17, apparently he had a timing belt go off on him, and so he would finish dead last on the day, first one to be exited. That was pretty much everything of note for stage one. However, due to some pit strategy, Larson was out on front. Go figure. But Chastain and Michael McDowell nearly took out the field very early on in stage one. Chastain and McDowell trying to kind of stay on the lead lap. Unfortunately, it did not work. And so Chastain was luckily able to get his lap back after stage one break. McDowell did not. But here we go with Bubba and Talladega. Bubba leading at the time of caution, with Briscoe, Buescher, and Hemrick crashing turn 3, and it looked like a very, very hard hit for all three of those drivers. Luckily, they were okay, but cars were torn up and just done. Something happened with Hemrick's car. I believe it was another engine issue. But that would be the second ECR engine to fail for the day, and the second one to fail in stage one. So Austin Dillon is understandably very nervous about his car right now. But in the end of stage one, Bubba Wallace will win under caution. That'll be his first stage win of the season. Going to stage two, not really a whole lot happening. Larson and Byron up front with Eric Jones charging, with Eric Jones taking the lead. Another strong performance by Jones in the 43 car. But here we have a lot of teams are having temperature issues. That's going to be kind of one of the issues coming up today. But luckily that issue doesn't really take out anybody. But Bubba Wallace might. Logano gets loose off the bumper of Wallace and collects a number of cars, including Daniel Suarez, who also had a very good day. Cole Custer, who was just running around, and Ty Dillon, who was just running around. Unfortunately, those cars were collected. Unfortunate for Suarez, because he looks like he had a real good car sitting up front and leading some stage and leading through the laps. But unfortunately, he would not survive to see the ending. But the third caution of the day comes from good old Cody Ware. Same car spin, but I will give him this. He did a very good job of not collecting any more cars and turning that car towards traffic. He kept it up towards the wall, seen car spin, but didn't really get a lot of damage. And so I believe he was able to kind of go out and still race. So very good job, Cody Ware. But in the end, it'll be William Byron taking stage 2. And here we get to stage 3. Here's the money stage. And now Blaney will take the lead for the first time of the day, ahead of Bud Wallace, Kyle Busch, and Eric Jones. Unfortunately, Blaney will be shuffled out, and Jones would be back to the lead. 30 to go. Pit stops again with Brad K, Blaney, and Harvick, along with some others. But this would be the second time Brad Keselowski would get a speeding penalty, and it was pretty obvious he was getting a speeding penalty. Just completely locked up the tires. So that would basically end his day and end his chances of trying to get to the win. But then teammates clash. I try to say collide and clash together. So it's been a day. Kyle Busch and Christopher Bell get together off pit road with Bell with a little damage to the car. And just to add insult to injury for Christopher Bell, no caution was called. And so his day was pretty much done from there. But for Kyle Busch, it looked like just a little bit damage to the front, but nothing severe. But then we hit 12 to go, and this is where I said in my little notes page, let the chaos begin. Because up until that point, it was just a train on the inside line, pretty much from front to tail. Then as soon as 12 laps to go hit, half the field just went right to the outside, and the pack racing was on. But in the end, it would be Chastain getting the win off of a very chaotic last lap pass. Eric Jones was out front. It looked like he was going to win the race and get a Richard Petty Motorsports their first win since 2014. Don't think it was going to happen today, but he made a bonehead move to the outside to try and block a wrecking Kyle Larson, which left the inside lane wide open for Ross Chastain to just go ahead and just full throttle it and take the win out from under him. But luckily for Eric Jones, he will get a pretty good finish, I believe, in
6th.
Sixth. So overall, not a terribly bad day for Eric Jones, but just heartbreak. But then, of course, the Watermelon Man takes another win. But then a terrible day for 23XI. Have both of their cars wrecked on the last lap, and especially Bubba Wallace visibly kind of shaken up, had the wind knocked out of him, but luckily he should be okay. And so that was Talladega.
Okay, I mean, it's Talladega. There's a lot to talk about, but I think we ended it on like a 60-some lap green flag run, which I would have never thought was going to happen at Talladega. Brad Keselowski, okay? Anybody here who's a Brad K fan, anybody here who put him in the fantasy league or bet on him or whatever, it's all my fault. I take full responsibility. I picked him in my fantasy league. That was the kiss of death. You could just see it coming. It's the commentator's curse that Simoleons and I talk about, extended into fantasy league picks. So completely my fault that he got both pit road speeding penalties because I put him in my fantasy lineup. So,
well, hey, don't worry. I put him in mine too.
And
I did not.
Ross, see, he had no chance. When Aaron and I both have him in there, he was done. He just as well not even showed up. So, and how about Ross Chastain? Sometimes the best move is to not make a move. He put that thing on the bottom, and as you said, 12 to go, everybody started fanning out. He put that thing on the bottom from lap 12, never left the yellow line, and let everybody else make their moves, and he just stayed on the bottom line and kept letting things open up for him. So, sometimes the best move you can make is to just not make a move and just stay where you're at.
Oh, yeah. And also, fun fact, the car Ross Chastain won with at Talladega was the same car that he won with at COTA. That's the same exact car.
Okay, somebody please tell me when he's taking that car to a track again so I can put him in the fantasy lineup.
Well,
That car
and he
has
ha-
some magic behind it.
and it better be painted red and black because both the times that he's won has been with red and black's different sponsors. So,
Oh, interesting.
That is true.
Okay. All right, anybody got anything to add to the Cup race before we move on to NASCAR news?
yeah, I thought it was a good race. Man, it sucks. I didn't have Keselowski in my lineup, but I had Buescher in my lineup because he had finished pretty high the last couple races there, and I was very disappointed. I didn't actually get to listen, or I watched the race. I listened to it, and they didn't really mention Buescher getting wrecked out on the broadcast very much, or I may have missed it. But I was like, all of a sudden, towards the end of stage 2, I was like, "What the heck? Why is he all the way down there?" And I ended up having to switch him out. But it was a good race overall. Man, I really wish the 43 would have won. It would be great to see, but Ross Chastain get another win, showing that he's not playing around. I mean, 1 win is fine, but 2 wins, I mean, even if this is luck, it's still a win. And I'm about to share you some stats here in a minute when we get to who's hot, who's not. But
and how can we have Ross Chastain win and not talk about the celebration in the watermelon?
Yeah.
I wish we had more guys who had a unique celebration like that was memorable. That is the best celebration we've had in NASCAR since the Carl Edwards backflip. So
I agree.
So,
Oh, and also a second fun fact of the day. Apparently, he took a piece of that watermelon that he smashed and then gave it to like a young fan in the stands, which I thought was very neat.
That was really cool.
That's cool.
Okay.
I also thought it was weird that he got out and like of the hatch, he stood up on his seat. I wonder if that was intentional or if it was just a part of the celebration. I don't know. Something to look at. He opened the driver's hatch for the Rex.
I call it a shortcut to the roof. That's what I call it.
That too.
All right, let's get into the news. So, Zach, take us through the news stories we've got.
Yeah, so quite a few news stories this week than we typically have. Denny Hamlin is going to be required by NASCAR to complete sensitivity training after a tweet was directed at Kyle Larson. This tweet was essentially anti-Asian Simpson video that was not in good taste. Afterwards, Hamlin said that it wasn't really directed in that way, more of the fact that it was a take on his poor driving. But regardless, NASCAR is going to require Hamlin to take sensitivity training afterwards. What are you guys' thoughts on this, Tom?
Yeah, I think it was something about a female Asian driver in the tweet, and it was considered anti-Asian because Kyle's mother is Asian, or I believe
Asian American. Yep.
I don't know. We've come a long way. I remember Darrell Waltrip being asked about was he worried about Dale Earnhardt reading the disparaging things he was saying, and he responded, "Oh, I don't worry about that. I don't think Dale or any of his friends can read." So we have come a long way. I really wonder if a part of, and I realize Hamlin knew he was in trouble, if he wanted to, after this came out, make a tweet that says, "Is Kyle Larson going to have to take training on how to drive a car?" I say that if it was Kyle Busch, he would have tweeted that. But
Maybe.
No, NASCAR understands the day and age we live in. I don't think Hamlin meant it as anything bad. I think he probably meant it more directed at the driving and not at the Asian reference. But yeah, I think NASCAR handled it. I think it'll blow over. I don't think it's that much of a big deal.
Yeah,
what about you, Aaron?
I kind of agree with Tom here. I get it. I mean, because Larson really did have a have a few races where he really did cause some accidents and cause a lot of damage to some cars. But however, at Talladega, I don't think it was explicitly his fault. I mean, he was getting shoved pretty hard from the back and just lost it. Which hey, if you watched the race, you saw nobody could handle it if they were getting shoved down going down in turns and on the tri-oval. No one could really keep it under. And so at that part, I don't think it was really Kyle's fault. I think he just got shoved and just lost it. But yeah, I mean, I don't really think Hamlin meant for that to be taken in that way. I think it was meant to show the driving and just Twitter just bomb rushed him.
And let me rewind and reset some things here with Kyle Larson and Denny Hamlin. Okay, back when Kyle Larson was still with Chip Ganassi Racing, I remember them covering a rain delay, and they're going into I think Denny Hamlin's hauler, and there is Denny Hamlin, Kyle Larson, and I can't remember who the third driver was, playing video games, playing PGA Tour golf. And they actually showed the camera, and it was, I think, Kyle Larson's turn, and they were like, "Oh, we're putting the pressure on you. Here's your shot you have to make," and he makes the shot or puts a good golf shot up there or something. And live on the air during the rain delay, Denny Hamlin makes some reference to Kyle Larson about, "Oh yeah, he's good at video games. He's Asian." I was like, did he just say that on TV? Like the Asian stereotype of being good at video games, and nothing was said about it or made about it. Given that that's how I've seen those two interact in the past, I'm not surprised that Hamlin makes this kind of a tweet, and I really think he meant it in fun. I don't think he meant it to be any kind of an anti-sensitivity thing, but I understand where NASCAR is coming from and why they reacted the way they did, but I got to understand the history of these two and how they interact together. I don't think it was meant to be as bad as it came out.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think that it was intentional about his race. I think it was more about what happened. And I have to disagree with you there on Aaron, about what happened. I definitely did think that Larson was trying to go there for the win there, but I'd have to look at some replays just to make sure. But from what I saw, I thought he was just trying to go for the win, and he wasn't. Ended up not clear. But regardless, this is what NASCAR needs to do. It's unfortunate, but with everything nowadays, you got to watch what you say. And Hamlin did not, and therefore he's being punished for it. So, moving on, our next little news tidbit: Trackhouse Racing, a Track City sponsor. I believe it's for next season, not this season. I could be wrong, but in reading it, it looks like for next season. Or next 2 seasons, excuse me. Worldwide Express, which is a logistics company, will sponsor, along with their affiliate companies, for 17 races over the next 2 seasons, and 4 more for the number 99 of Daniel Suarez. Actually, it does look like they're going to be on May 3rd on the 99 of Suarez at the track test session at Pocono. So, and then as well as on the All-Star race with Chastain. So it looks like they gained a pretty hefty sponsor. 17 races over the next 2 seasons is a pretty good deal. What are you guys' thoughts on this, Aaron?
I mean, the more sponsors, the better. I mean, NASCAR is, of course, a sponsor-driven sport. It thrives on sponsorship money. I mean, and plus with the way that Trackhouse is going right now and how hot they are right now, especially with Ross Chastain, that just guarantees more funding for the next few years. And especially with a 17 race deal, that's a lot of money they're throwing at Trackhouse Racing. I mean, let's say that the typical sponsorship is like 300, 400,000 a year. I don't know. I'm just guessing because they don't publicize those numbers. I mean, even still at that point, that's still about a few $1 million being thrown at Trackhouse Racing, and they're free to spend that however they want to. And so I think this is a huge win for Trackhouse. I think this legitimizes their NASCAR team. I mean, they're already legitimate as of right now, especially with 2 wins. But this helps further seal their long term, what am I trying to say here? Their long term ambitions.
Well, I mean, 17 races is almost half a season. I mean, you only race 36 times, so that's one short of being a sponsor for basically half of a season. And you know what? You run up front, you get on TV, you can attract sponsorship. It's a whole lot easier to attract that sponsorship when you're leading laps and racking up wins and top 5s and top 10s than if you're racking up top 25s. So, success can sometimes breed success. So, yeah, I think this is something that they have earned with the results they've shown this year on the track.
Yeah, I agree. I think that they really did a good job this season, especially with the new. I think they did a good job with the driver lineup. I think they did a good job with the cars. Obviously, they have a good team around them. They're spending money. They're obviously making enough money, attracting new sponsors, because this isn't the only one that they had. They also attracted Jockey, the apparel brand, pretty well known, especially overseas as well. So, they're doing what needs to be done to be a top tier organization, and you can see that paying out on the track as well. So it's definitely good to see, and it's always good to see new sponsors joining the series. So I'm excited, and hopefully this puts a fire under them and gives them enough funding to potentially compete for the championship this season. But moving right along, Kyle Busch, talking about champions, we're looking at another champion, Kyle Busch, and his future at Joe Gibbs Racing looking uncertain, especially in a recent interview that he did after the race. Will we see Kyle Busch back at Joe Gibbs Motorsports? What do you think, Tom?
I think Kyle Busch is a smart man. I think he is shrewd. I think he is strategic. Okay. He has not mentioned his contract situation or anything with Joe Gibbs since a brief comment at the start of the season. Coincidentally, just coincidentally, by pure chance, the week after he gets a win, locks himself in the playoffs, locks himself in the All-Star race next year, locks himself in those classes. Right after he gets a win, he decides it's time to express his frustration. How many people here think that was a coincidence that he decided to express it the week after he gets a win? He knows what he is doing. He knows what he is doing. I'm telling you, those comments were written, rehearsed, and prepared from probably before the first practice session at Daytona, waiting on the right time to drop them and put the pressure on Joe Gibbs. So to me, this was planned. This was well planned, well timed, very strategic. Kyle Busch, this isn't his first rodeo. He knows how to play his cards, and he's playing them at the right time.
Yeah.
What do you think, Aaron?
I mean, this isn't the first time that Kyle Busch has been in the spotlight for sponsorship woes. I mean, just take a look at his career throughout, and you can tell that M&M's and Mars has been very unhappy with him and threatened to pull out several times because of his antics off the track and on the track, but still remained with him and still has found some way to kind of mend that partnership. But this isn't one of those times. This is Mars and M&M saying, yeah, we're pulling out definitely. But I still think he's going to find a sponsor. It's Kyle freaking Busch. He is the only active driver right now in the NASCAR stable with multiple championship wins. Literally the only guy in the Cup stable with multiple championship wins. He's still competing. He's still up front. He's still leading laps. He's still competitive. He gets the car on camera. And so he will find those sponsorships, especially with Joe Gibbs at the helm. Or if not, another sponsor, I'm sure, is sure to kind of step up and take the mantle, like Interstate Batteries, for instance, that they did in the past. Why not now? So if he finds another sponsor, which I definitely think he will, I seriously doubt Gibbs is going to release him, because through all his antics in the past, Gibbs has stuck with him. Why would he get rid of him now if he has that full-time sponsorship for his car? And so I think if he gets a sponsorship, he stays with Gibbs. If not, Gibbs may look to release Kyle. So we'll see.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I agree on parts on both of you guys, but I can't remember exactly. Was he directly asked about his 2023 plans in the interview?
The story I saw said he was pressed about them, which I have to believe he's been asked about them probably every week since Daytona, but he chose to elaborate on it this week.
Yeah, according to the ESPN story here, a reporter asked him when would he like to know about his 2023 plans, and Kyle Busch said bluntly, yesterday. So take that for what you will. That says that he doesn't know right now, especially with another answer. Another reporter said, "Hey man, do you know about future plans?" And Kyle Busch told the reporter, "Well, we'll go talk to Joe Gibbs, because I don't know."
I think he seriously doesn't know. I mean, I think he's obviously wanting to stay with Joe Gibbs. He's obviously want to stay racing in NASCAR in the Cup Series, and yeah, I think he's being blunt and giving his honest answers. To be honest with you, I don't know if it's calculated, maybe a little bit. I could see it, but I think it's more of his bluntness and just trying to answer the question and get out of the interview. One thing I will say is I don't see how they could get rid of Kyle Busch and not get rid of not Eric Jones, Christopher Bell. Christopher Bell has probably been considered the weakest link at Joe Gibbs Racing since he joined. I get that he's a promising rookie. This is I want to say, is it his second or third year at Joe Gibbs?
I
can't remember.
Third year?
I think it's his third. And yes, he has a couple wins. Has he been drastically better than Eric Jones? Not really, when you're looking at it, who previously drove the car. You can easily take that sponsorship and transfer it over to what you're losing in Kyle Busch and find another driver that has the sponsorship available to compete in the 20 car. Or they could switch it around and try and find new sponsorship for Christopher Bell. He obviously has the Ream sponsorship that he's going to stay with him. So you would have to find probably less sponsorship with him. I think there's ways that they could move pieces around and figure out a way that they stay, because I think it's pretty stupid if they let him go when he's not even the weakest part of the team at all.
Well, let's move on, because we have more to talk about with that later on in the green flag, red flag section. So we've got more to dive into on the different aspects of that story. But let's keep moving on, because we'll circle back to that one.
So the All-Star vote is live. Who would you like to see in the All-Star race, Tom?
As of right now, I'd vote for Tyler Reddick. Now, I'm hoping that he wins his way in between now and then. But of the people that aren't eligible, haven't raced their way in already, if I was to vote for one, I think I'd vote Tyler Reddick right now. I think, from a standpoint, if he could bring some excitement, because he's had a fast car, he runs up front, he's hungry, it would be a great story to see him get his first win. And I think of the people that need to race their way in and that are still eligible for the fan vote, he's probably the guy who's got the best chance of winning right now. So I'd vote Tyler Reddick.
Yeah, I probably agree. I think Tyler Reddick is definitely the front runner. But I would say probably for a dark horse for that vote, I'd probably say Austin Dillon, or possibly even Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones has really kind of put Richard Petty back on the map this season and really made their cars known. and made his talents known. And so I would not be surprised if one of those three drivers gets in. Daniel Suarez is also in there. I'm not surprised if he gets in. But more than likely, it's probably Tyler Reddick.
Aaron, Adam tuned in. Say Landon Castle.
Oh, that's right. Oh, wow. I did not even see him on here. So, okay. Oh, yeah. Sorry. Landon Castle definitely up there with Tyler Reddick. I would say it's probably about between Landon Castle and Tyler Reddick.
I would probably say that it'd probably be between Austin Dillon, Tyler Reddick, and Daniel Suarez. One of those three.
Or Landon Castle.
I would say you could probably put Landon Castle in there as a fourth. But I don't really see any of those other guys winning the fan vote at this point. So I would say Austin Dillon is definitely probably one of the favorites, along with Tyler Reddick. Let's hope that one of them win, so that way we're able to have somebody not from RCR, or somebody other than RCR win, because I think those two guys are are bound to win it if it does open up to a vote.
But I want to see the final tally for every single driver on this list, and I want to see how many Mad Lads vote for Cody Ware. I want to know how many people are going to vote for Cody Ware.
I bet all the drivers would be dreading it.
Honestly, if I'm a driver, I'm probably wanting Cody Ware in there because hey, he's the least threat among that list.
I mean, he's going to blow up by lap 2, so you're probably right.
So if I'm a driver, I'm wanting Cody Ware to win. Exactly, Mark. Cody who? Exactly.
Anyway, moving along, NASCAR wants out of their contract with Motorsports Games that they just signed. Motorsports Games has produced 2 NASCAR games, one in conjunction with 704 Games after they bought them out and required a 53.3% equity in 704 Games when they produced NASCAR Heat 5. And then in their most recent game, NASCAR 21 Ignition, which came out October 28th, 2021. Both have been somewhat, especially Ignition, have been huge disappointments, and with huge amount of bugs and everything, pretty much unplayable. A lot of people have quit league racing because of it, and buying NASCAR games because of it. And NASCAR has seen that, so they're looking to get out of their contract with Motorsports Games, try and find a new licensee for the game, for the franchise. What are you guys' thoughts on this, Aaron?
Yeah, and even though this is relatively old news, according to this article, it's been a lot more pressing news events come up before it. I am not surprised. Games may not be the company that they say they are. They've done a lot of sketchy things behind the scenes, acquiring this and that, and how they acquired those things, and kind of what they're using them for, in conjunction with their business meetings. How to say they're always out of money. They're looking for new space of revenue, but the CEO of the company is getting paid a lot more as the years go on. That's a little weird. And so I am completely not surprised that NASCAR's want to get out of this contract, especially with how 21 Ignition turned out. Not surprised. Is my final answer with this.
What about you, Tom?
There's a statement in the private chat. Aaron, would you please read it?
Yes. The statement reads, Tom Libby releases the following statement regarding NASCAR 21 Ignition. On the advice of my physician, who is closely monitoring my blood pressure, I have been advised to not make any comments regarding NASCAR 21 Ignition. I completely agree. Zach, what are your thoughts?
Yeah. Okay. So, just a little update for you. Motorsports Game stock, which opened as IPO, I believe, in the $25 range, has dropped all the way down to 98 cents per share as of April 25th. So definitely reaching dangerous levels, potentially bankruptcy. There have been several videos highlighting their shady business practices and essentially buying up all the competition but not producing good enough games. One stat that I want to give to you guys that really just outlines, I think, everything, puts it all together, wraps it up in a bow. There are more people playing NASCAR 15 than there are NASCAR 21 on Steam right now.
Wow.
There's some people actually playing 21 Ignition?
There are 23 people playing NASCAR 21
That's 23
Ignition.
more than they should have.
There is 25 playing NASCAR 15 Victory Edition. Victory Edition. So that's like the special
the deluxe edition.
But
actually,
in all,
well, I'm sorry, because NASCAR 15 was actually made by people who actually, what's the word I'm looking for? Oh yeah, actually care about the product.
The bottom line is Motorsports Games has bought out all the licenses, and pretty much the majority of the competition in the motor racing gaming space, to the point where it's very unlikely that we're going to be able to see potentially a NASCAR game within the next 2 years at this point, much less any other motorsports game that we see, because not only are they going to have to buy the license back, but they're going to have to find another company to produce it. And there's, at this point, very limited. Like I said, Motorsports Games not only went on a buying spree as far as studios go for racing games, but they also went on a buying spree for all the licenses. They own the license for NASCAR. They own the license for IndyCar. They own the license for WEC. They own the license for MotoGP. They own the license for BCC. The list goes on. So
was the last one British Touring Car Series?
BTCC. Excuse me,
I think they just lost it.
Well, they didn't lose it, but I'm sorry, they're not producing the game anymore. So the BTCC pulled out, and ultimately they decided not to produce a game. So that's not happening anymore. In order to produce the game, they have to BTCC has to get the rights back from Motorsports Games, unless they voided the contract, which they might have. But either way, these companies or Motorsports Games has put racing, video game racing in serious jeopardy for pretty much everyone, unfortunately, and are holding all the license hostage for the foreseeable future.
All right, let's move off of that depressing topic and let's move into a better topic. Who's hot and who's not? So, Aaron, let's start with you. Who you got for who's hot and who's not?
All right, so for my who's hot, I gotta go with the 43 machine of Eric Jones. Even though the season has been very up and down this season, they are still far and away better off than where they were like the past decade. I mean, at least now they're at least up front. They're leading laps. They're making noise. They're getting that car actually, in the camera spotlight for the first time since, since I don't know, probably before I was even born. So I think this is a huge resurgence for Richard Petty Motorsports and Eric Jones's career. And I certainly hope they get a win and get into the playoffs, which is going to be a huge news story for NASCAR and for all the historic nerds like myself. For who's not this week, I got to go with ECR engines. I mean, it's when one blows up, okay, that's fine. Whatever it happens. But when two blow up in the same race, you start to get questions. When two motors blow up before stage one ends, that doesn't look good. And in fact, if I remember correctly, two of those engines blew up before the halfway point in stage one. So that something went horribly wrong for somebody in that engine shop. So that is my who's not for this week. Who's not for this week.
All right, Zach, who you got for who's hot and who's not?
I am gonna say, as far as who's hot, I'm gonna go with the obvious Ross Chastain. 6 top 10s in 10 races this year with 2 wins on the season. For some reason, he's still only 9th in the standings, with tied for the most wins this season. But he has finished. I'm sorry. So he has finished 8 of those 10 races. So in 8 races, he has finished 6 times in the top 5, and 6 times in the top 10. Which is pretty insane when you think about it. Obviously, every single time that he's finished in the top 5, other than once, has been runner-ups or wins, and just crazy stats that you're looking at right now. 60% of the races he's finished in the top 5. When you think about it, this is a big jump from him last season. And say what you want about lucking into this Talladega race win. It's still a win, and pretty awesome to see Ross Chastain being able to compete for wins this season. So, yeah, crazy. Will we see him compete and go on a deep run in the playoffs? I don't know. I hope so. It'd be nice to see a fresh face in there. As far as who's not, I'm going to go with 2311 Racing. Basically for their last lap unfortunate events. 5 comes up into 45, takes him out, and then he takes out his teammate. Both are wrecked. Both are trending down on the standings order right now as far as making the playoffs. So not very good for them. Both have yet to get a win this season, but have looked strong in some cases. But obviously, not a great look. Both wrecking out in Talladega, not finishing well. Hopefully, they can get their act together for the next couple races. But that's my who's hot, who's not for this race, for this season, or for this episode.
All right, well, that leaves it with me, and this is what I get for going last, because Zach, I don't think, read the agenda, because I had Trackhouse Racing as my who's hot. So I won't regurgitate all of the same stats that Zach had. But yeah, these guys are on fire. They're doing well. That Ross Chastain is the second multi-race winner of the year. Daniel Suarez has had several strong runs too. They're attracting new sponsorship. I got to believe Ross Chastain is gaining huge popularity with his victory celebrations. And let me tell you something, you can never ever go wrong by doing a victory celebration where you include a young fan from the grandstands in it when he gave him a slice of the watermelon that he was eating. So yeah, those guys are on fire. They seem to be hitting on all cylinders, everything from on-track performance to attracting new sponsors. So I am going with Trackhouse Racing as my who's hot. As far as who is not, okay, I am going with Wood Brothers Racing and Harrison Burton. Anybody want to guess how many top 10s that organization has had this year? Give you a hint. It's less than 1. Anybody want to guess how many top 15s they've had this year? Give you a hint. It's the same number of top 10s. Best finish the entire year, 16th place for Harrison Burton. Okay. I'm going to go back to what we said last year. They made a mistake by getting rid of Matt DiBenedetto. Let's compare. Matt DiBenedetto has scored 2 top 10s this year in the Truck Series. driving for a team that nobody's ever heard of, Rackley War Racing. That is 2 more top 10s than that team had all of last year. So this is just bearing out the Wood brothers made a mistake. Harrison Burton, I think, needed more Xfinity experience before he came up to Cup. We are a quarter of the way through the season, and their best finish so far is 16th place. So Wood brothers racing, not hot right now.
No. And so with that, I believe we are on to the green flag, red flag segment, which is my favorite segment because this releases all the debate juices from our brains, and we kind of really get to argue and debate back and forth. And plus, this allows our fans to kind of chime in on these statements and questions. And so for those of you playing along at home, if you want to go ahead and comment whether you agree with our statements, which is a green flag, or if you disagree, which is a red flag. And so we will go ahead and get started. Green flag, red flag, number 1 of the night. It is too early to be talking about the future of Kyle Busch. Green flag or red flag? Tom, will go with you first.
I'm going to say green flag. It's a little too early. We see a lot of people get their contracts renewed and extended the second half of the year. It's not that uncommon, especially I really think one of the big holdups is the sponsorship. I know they've had a year since M&M's Mars said that they were pulling out, but I really think the holdup right now is a sponsorship deal. And I don't think it's that uncommon to see drivers get their contracts extended the second half of the season. So I think it's just a little bit early. And keep in mind, everybody's not talking about it. Only Kyle Busch is talking about it. So, yeah, I'm going to say green flag.
Okay. All right, Zach, what say you?
Yeah, I'm gonna be green flag as well. There's plenty of time to get sponsorship involved and ready. That I think that it's a little bit too early. I think maybe potentially after the All-Star race, maybe a little bit longer, is when we really should start talking about it. But from what I'm hearing, they do have sponsorship in the works. Whether that falls into place, we'll see. But I think it's a little bit too early at this point.
Yeah, and I'll kind of be the Debbie Downer here and say also green flag. I mean, fans at home wanted to debate, but I would have to agree with this. It's only a quarter way through the season. Again, it's Kyle Busch. He's going to get a sponsor somewhere, or if not, a sponsorship that's signed with the team and not the actual driver can easily just switch rides. And I feel that will be resolved in due time, but I think right now it's just a little bit too early to say. So, green flag all the way. But too early, but I also agree with Zach in saying that if something is not done towards the All-Star race, I would get a little bit more concerned. But if it's playoff time and still nothing has been set in stone yet, then I'll be really concerned that nothing's been done yet. So, with that said, let's go to the fans here. Adam Lauer saying green flag. Shane saying red. I believe this is your explanation here. Not much future left with Kyle Busch, or saying that he may retire, or not a lot of future left with Joe Gibbs Racing. So I'd love to hear kind of more an explanation on why you say red flag. I'm curious. All right, so green flag, red flag number 2 of the night. This one is going to have 3 options. After I said last week that there are no yellow flags in this, well, we're including yellow flags now. Why? Because
maybe we're going to have to rename the segment.
Well, the flag stand?
No, green, maybe? Red, sometimes yellow.
The green, red, sometimes yellow. All right, so 3 options. Ross Chastain is a championship contender, and Eric Jones is a playoff contender. Green flag if you're saying yes to both of these statements. Red flag say no to both. Or yellow flag if you say yes to one or no to the other. And please say which one. And just to reiterate, Ross Chastain is a championship contender, and Eric Jones is a playoff contender. Green flag, red flag, or yellow flag? Zach, we'll start with you first.
Oh, man, hard-hitting question. I would say yellow. I think Ross Chastain is a championship contender. Eric Jones, to me, I haven't seen enough of him fighting up front for wins or just being around the front for wins to make him a playoff contender, in my opinion. I hope that he makes the playoffs. I mean, I love Eric Jones, but I just don't see him up front enough in order for him to challenge for wins. And I do think that we're probably going to have a few more winners this season. So it'll be harder to point your way in. So hopefully one of those winners is him, but right now I'm going to go with yellow.
Okay. Tom, let's go with you next.
I'm going with yellow, and similar logic. I think Ross Chastain is a championship contender. I don't think Eric Jones makes the playoffs simply because, similar logic to Zach, I think we're going to have maybe 3 guys make the playoffs on points. And I don't know that Eric Jones is going to have enough points to outlast some of those other guys. Right now, I could see Kurt Busch and Daniel Suarez that are behind him in points coming up with a win. I could see Tyler Reddick coming up with a win. And then some of the I just don't see there being more than 3, maybe 4 guys. And I just don't think he's going to have enough strong finishes to point his way in and be one of the top 3 or 4 in points.
Okay. Well, all right. Here's where I'm going to diverge from both of you. I'm saying green flag. I'll say green flag. I mean, I think Jones definitely has the speed to compete and get in on points. It's just he's got a lot of tough competition. I will completely agree with that because right now he's got Reddick, Bell, Dillon, Harvick, Almirola, Truex Jr., Blaney, and Elliott right now currently in the top 16 that does not have a win yet. Reddick, I'd be hard-pressed if he doesn't get a win. Christopher Bell, he may be the odd man out, and Joe Gibbs, I don't see him getting in right now. Dillon could possibly see him getting in, and then, of course, the rest of them, besides Harvick and Almirola, those two will be really hard-pressed. They might make it in on points. But I think really all he's got to do is just try and be up Christopher Bell, and he's in.
But Eric, look at this. Look at the people who are behind him that are likely to grab a win before playoff time. Kurt Busch, Daniel Suarez, and Denny Hamlin are all behind him, and I could see all 3 of those pulling off a win before the playoffs. So now those aren't just people who are already up on him in points and then get a win. Those are 3 that are behind him, which makes it even tougher. So that's why I'm saying yellow flag.
That's a good point. But right now, Kurt Busch has not really shown a lot recently. He's at a strong start, but I think that start is starting to kind of fizzle off here. Suarez, I definitely think he could win a race, and Hamlin. I mean, right now with the way that team is performing right now, I don't see it. Well, actually, no, hang on. Hamlin already has a win.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
He's locked in.
Sorry.
Yes. So Eric Jones is 18th,
Yep.
12 points out.
Is 18th. Okay, so that leaves
Tyler Reddick is ahead of him. He's 1 point out. Christopher Bell's on the cut line. Then you have Kevin Harvick, Austin Dillon, Eric Almirola going up to 13th.
I still think he can. I still think he'll find a way to get in.
All right, we'll see.
But we'll see.
All right. Keep us moving.
All right. So for green flag, red flag number 3 of the night, this is going to be the final one. So, and same goes as right here. Kyle Busch in his current situation has more leverage in contract negotiations than any other driver in NASCAR. Green flag or red flag? Tom, will start with you first.
I'm saying green flag all the way on this one because not only is he Kyle Busch, he's a Hall of Fame driver, he's a two-time champion. He has already got a win this year, which locks him into, the All-Star race next year and the Busch Clash. He's got all that going for him. But here's what really creates his leverage, okay? And it's a huge amount of leverage with Joe Gibbs, okay? There are right now in the Cup Series 6 Toyotas. That's it, 6, okay? If you can't find sponsorship for Kyle Busch and that ride goes away, now you're down to 5. You're trying to figure out a new car. You need data and analysis to figure out what works and what doesn't. Everybody else is running 10 or 12 cars. You're running 6 and you're thinking about dropping it to 5. No way they can let that happen. And he is your most experienced driver who can probably give you the best feedback. So I think that creates a huge amount of leverage in and of itself. And you add Kyle Busch Motorsports to it, okay? Now you have his Toyota team, which is developing drivers. It's Toyota's pipeline of future Cup rides, and he is finding talent and putting them in winning rides in the Truck Series. So it's not just what he brings to the table as a driver, but that Kyle Busch Motorsports, if they change the emblem on the front of that too, that takes away a huge chunk of Toyota's pipeline of future drivers. So I think he has tremendous amount of leverage, and I think that he's going to get a contract extension and a very good deal out of it, because I think that Toyota needs him as much as Joe Gibbs does. So I'm saying green flag all the way.
Okay. Very, very interesting. Zach, what do you think?
I'm going to say green flag. I'm not as strongly encouraged that Kyle Busch has a crap ton of leverage. I just think that, obviously this is going to be bearing on whether or not he gets sponsorship. Do I think he gets sponsorship? Absolutely. He's one of the premier drivers in NASCAR. Toyota will sponsor him. TRD will sponsor him themselves if they can't find sponsorship. It's going to happen. And when you think about it, I will say I don't really see him going anywhere else, simply because I don't see where he would fit anywhere else. If you look at it, somebody will have to lose a drive, or somebody will be leaving. Maybe Stuart Haas, because Eric Almirola is leaving, but I don't really see an open spot where he goes. So that could probably lower his leverage at that point. But like Tom said, something to consider is that, yes, he's a big part of the Toyota family, bringing up young talent, and being very loyal to Toyota. So I'm sure that they're going to find a sponsorship for Kyle Busch. And even if they can't, TRD will sponsor them, and he's going to end up staying with Joe Gibbs. I just don't think that the leverage is going to be as much as Tom was talking about, but who knows?
Yeah, and I will also probably say green flag here. I mean, it's Kyle Busch. I mean, he's one of the most recognizable drivers in the garage today, because he's probably, besides Kevin Harvick and Denny Hamlin, one of the few, I guess, drivers in NASCAR's golden age left in the sport right now. And so, I mean, he's going to get a sponsorship. There's no question about that. It's just kind of who's going to sponsor him and for how long the sponsorship is going to last, I think is the thing. So, and plus, I mean, Tom does bring up a great point. If Toyota loses Kyle Busch, then there goes their development program. There goes John Hunter Nemechek. There goes, possibly Trevor Bayne, come back up. Even though he's with Joe Gibbs.
Chandler Smith,
yes.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of talent in the KBM stable right now that Toyota, I don't think, can afford to lose. And so I think that Kyle Busch, Toyota needs Kyle Busch more than Kyle Busch needs Toyota right now. And so I'm going to say green flag. I think Toyota does sacrifice Kyle Busch. They're going to sacrifice probably the future. So I'm going green flag just on that basis. Toyota has way too much to lose. And so that will conclude green flag, red flag of the night. Thank you very much, you guys, for participating. Got Adam saying green flag, Mike, Shane, Mark saying green flag. So yeah, everyone's pretty much agreeing with us right now.
All right, so we are up to Dover preview. So since I don't want Zach to take my picks, I'm going first. I am going first here. Dover, I am going Kyle Larson. He is due. This is a Hendrick track. This is one of the tracks where Hendrick went 1, 2, 3, 4 last year, grabbed all 4 top spots at Dover. I think they run well here. I think that Kyle Larson kind of emerges from, I don't know if you could call it a slump since he hasn't won since Auto Club, but I'm picking Kyle Larson. I know, really going out on a limb there, picking the defending champ at a track where they finished 1, 2, 3, 4 last year. But for a dark horse, I am picking Cole Custer. In 3 career Cup starts at Dover, Cole Custer has finished top 10 twice and has a worst finish of 11. So I am going Cole Custer for my dark horse.
Okay. Is that going to go first? Or do you want me to?
You go ahead.
Okay. So for my pick, I'm going with another Hendrick driver in Alex Bowman. For the reason that in 5, excuse me. Let me find him here. Here we go. In the 5 starts that he has a win, 4 top 5s, a best finish of first, but a low finish of 21st. But you can't beat those numbers, and plus, of course, 114 laps led, and plus, it's Hendrick's baby. He's in the fracking 48 car at Dover. How can you pick against a 48 car at Dover? And so I'm going with Bowman. And for my dark horse pick, this may not seem like a dark horse pick, but just because the guy has not had a lot of success in the last few years, he's a dark horse now. I'm going with Kevin Harvick because he has an average finish of 3.8 at Dover in 5 races ran. He has 1 win, 5 top 5s, 224 laps led, a best finish of first, and a lowest finish of 6th. So actually, can I swap those two?
Sure.
So is it too late?
Sure.
All right, so I'm going with Harvick now as the winner, and Bowman dark horse. There we go.
Now we can really pick on you for picking Bowman as a dark horse. I could see Harvick as a dark horse, but Bowman, come on. All right, Zach, who you got for Dover?
I'm going with William Byron. His 11.4 average finish, 2 top 5s, 3 top 10s, 4 top 20s, an average start of 8.4, which is significantly better, tying Kevin Harvick right now. He has a best finish of 4th and an average driver rating of, well, it doesn't really matter, but he's Hendrick. He seems to be a different driver than a better driver than he has been last year, which says a lot because he did get his first win last year. I think that he improves. I think that he gets a win here, first 3-time winner this season, because he seems to be the strongest out of all 3 Hendrick cars to me, be able to dominate and get the win more often. As far as a dark horse, man, I'm gonna go. That's probably not a good pick. I'm gonna say Kyle Busch, and now hear me out. Kyle Busch is 11th on the list as far as average driver rating. He has an average driver rating similar to William Byron. However, he only has 1 top 5 at Dover. Toyota has been strong on shorter tracks. We have seen that this season. So I will say Kyle Busch gets it done, gets a win. Second win of the season for him. And that's going to be my dark horse pick.
Okay.
Very interesting pick.
All right. We are up to parting comments. So it is time for us to wind this thing down tonight, and it is time for our parting comments. So, Zach, Aaron, who wants to go first?
Zach, want to go first?
Sure. So something that I wanted to mention earlier. Right now, when you look at it, and we were talking about Kyle Busch potentially being in the hot seat. When you look at it, Christopher Bell, and you look at Eric Jones, the former driver of the 20. Christopher Bell currently is 14th in points, 1 top 5, 4 top 10s, and 10 starts. Eric Jones, 17th in points, and an arguably inferior car. He has 1 top 5 and 3 top 10s and 10 starts, so only 1 less top 10. This new car has a way of equalizing, as we've seen all season, talent gap. Do you got some food for thought, and you don't have to answer me now, but do you think that Eric Jones is let go too soon? I'm saying potentially yes, compared to what Christopher Bell has done in 3 years at Joe Gibbs Racing, compared to what Eric Jones has done in the same car, as well as what he's been able to do this season, keeping on par with Christopher Bell. I don't know. That's just food for thought.
Very interesting. And I'll say probably, but that's an option Joe gets decided to make.
If they're going to get rid of one driver, it has to be him. But he does bring sponsorship, so I don't know.
But there's also been reports of possibly Martin Truex leaving. And of course, so I don't know. I mean, this offseason is going to be very interesting for Joe Gibbs, to say the least, and potentially a major shakeup probably coming.
Will they potentially go down to 3 cars?
They might.
Who knows?
They might. I mean, a lot of 4-car teams have in the past. But
yep.
But you do whatever the sponsorship tells you to do.
I see Bundy wanted an F1 recap. Max Verstappen with the win. Lando Norris third. 1-2 for Red Bull. Ferrari screws themselves over at the start and at second place. So pretty crazy race. If anybody's not watching F1, you need to. This season is pretty epic so far. It is a little bit early start time, but it's a great way to start the morning. Most races are, I believe, at 8 or 9 o'clock. So take a look at it if you can.
Yeah, that's when I'm heading to work. So that's probably going to be a no for me. All right. So for my white flag thing, right now this season has been completely crazy. I think NASCAR was just a little bit premature on the greatest season ever thing last year because, I mean, while it was crazy in its own right, it doesn't even hold a candle to this season so far. I mean, right now we've got a second-year team competing with the greatest organization in NASCAR at Hendrick in terms of a championship capable car and driver right now. You got Joe Gibbs looking probably as weak as they've ever been. You got Roush, who's was supposed to make this incredible turnaround, not really so much. it's been a crazy year, and so I think this may go down as one of the greatest years so far for NASCAR. Top 10 probably. Okay. All right, Thomas, what do you got for us?
I am going to respond to Zach's comments, and I'm going to say I don't know that if you look back at the time that Eric Jones was let go, it's easy to look back in hindsight and say it was a bad decision. And I'm not sure that it was, and I'm not sure that given the circumstance you had at the time that you can criticize Joe Gibbs for it. Here's the facts. During the 3 years that Eric Jones was at Joe Gibbs Racing, his 3 Joe Gibbs Racing teammates accumulated something like 34 wins. He accumulated 2. So he was clearly the underperformer there. So I don't think you can criticize them or say it was a bad decision to get rid of him. Christopher Bell looks like he's going to put up similar stats in his 3 years at Joe Gibbs Racing. So it almost seems like just the 20 team as a whole is lagging behind at Joe Gibbs Racing, regardless of what driver you put in there. That's just what it seems like from a stat perspective. But anyway, that's not going to be my parting comment. My parting comment is going to be going back to what I think I mentioned last week. This is the last week of it. My friends at Racing Refresh, they put together a great website, great content. They're starting to do some YouTube shows. They work their butts off to become a NASCAR media credentialed organization. So they actually get to talk to drivers, sit in on interviews, break stories occasionally. They are trying to grow their website. They're great friends of mine. They work extremely hard on it. What they're doing is asking people to sign up for their newsletter. And I'm going to post a link here to where you can sign up for their newsletter. When you sign up for their newsletter, you get to pick who sent you as a referral, okay? If you select me, Tom Willoughby, Setup Man, I have a chance to win a contest with them that I will share with you. If I win, they will donate $100 to any charity of my choice, and they will give me $100. If I win, I'll take that $100 and pick one of the people that referred me and donate that money to a charity of their choice. So please go out there. Great friends of mine. They have great content. You'll really find what they have out there worthwhile to read and watch in videos. RacingRefresh.com. I posted a link in the comments to where you can go and sign up for their newsletter. I'd greatly appreciate it if you could support my friends, because they have certainly supported me as I have tried to grow this YouTube channel. So I'm trying to pay it back to them. Great friends, great people. Please join me in supporting them. So that is my parting comment, and I appreciate everybody tuning in and appreciate all the support you guys have given me. So with that being said, anybody else got anything to say before we say goodnight?
I don't believe so.
All right, we are out of here. Thank you guys for tuning in. We will catch you all next week.
Absolutely.